Let's talk about Rust today. Rust is one of those technologies which is emerging. It's super hot right now, but still a lot of people don't exactly know why it is what it is today. So we're going to spend some time with Rust because it is a technology which will shape the future of web development, and it's an awesome programming language as well. So let's just go ahead and spend some time with Rust in this video. If you're new here, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. This is free of cost and helps the channel grow. So let's start from the very starting. What exactly is Rust? So if you're not living under a rock, you know that Rust is a programming language, which is just like any other programming language, allows you to program computers, right? It's not a front-end language. That means you cannot use it in front-end web development or things like that. It's like a back-end development language or a programming language, just like you have PHP or Java or Python, for example. But this has a twist because Rust performs very close to in performance with C and C++, which is the best you get on computers. But at the same time, it solves a very important pain point of C++ developers, that is memory management. So how exactly Rust does this memory management? We will not go into details of that, obviously, because that will get complicated and technical. But what you have to realize is that Rust uses a unique practice or a unique architecture where Rust tries to enforce a lot of important memory management rules at compile time itself, right? So at compile time itself, you get the benefits of all the memory management things which you get on higher level programming languages, for example. But what happens in Rust is that you get that security layer on compilation itself instead of on runtime. I mean, on runtime, obviously you have certain checks, but you don't want a lot of checks on runtime because that decreases your performance. And if you want to keep a performance as similar to C and C++, you want checks for developer experience on compile time, but you don't want a lot of checks or a lot of things on runtime itself. So currently, if we talk about Rust as a programming language, almost all big players use it in one way or another. AWS uses it, Cloudflare uses it, and a lot of tooling also uses it. For example, Next.js has started using Rust a little bit. So why is this the case, and why and how does this relate to JavaScript in general? Because we know we want to talk a little bit about JavaScript and how does Rust actually relate with JavaScript in this context. Now, will you see, if we go back a little in the history, you see that JavaScript used to be a technology where we would just start writing a script tag in an HTML file and start coding back 10 years back, right? Where we would have jQuery and stuff as the major thing where we will start the project with. Over time, we have developed a lot of tooling in JavaScript. Module bundlers like Webpack, for example. We have transpilers like Babel. We have things like Prettier. There's a bunch of tooling which has been built around JavaScript, which helps developers have a better experience coding with them. But the problem is that these tools also mostly are coded in JavaScript itself. Now, JavaScript is not a slow language itself, but this definitely suffers a lot of performance when it comes to something like a lot of CPU bound tasks, right? If you're trying to run something which is very CPU intensive, then JavaScript would eventually get slower over time compared to its alternatives like Rust or C and C++. This is because, just like I mentioned, one of the main reasons for that is memory management and additional checks at runtime, right? Because JavaScript is a language which allows you to play safely in a memory area where, you cannot really corrupt the operating system memory and so on. So the runtime has to provide a lot of guarantees and a lot of safety checks, right? And plus all the weird syntax of JavaScript and supporting all the weird operations, that requires time, right? That requires, for example, if you're assigning a property on an object in JavaScript, it has to perform so many checks before it can do that. Whether you own the object, whether you own the memory, whether that is a valid value, whether that is something which is even allowed and so on, right? But C and C++ and Rust, even when it compiles down to bytecode, it's basically an optimized version of that. So what happens is that when this tooling is also developed in JavaScript, when you are doing so many operations, because a thing like a bundler or a transpiler has to traverse through probably your whole file tree and node modules and everything, right? So when that happens, things eventually get slow, right? So Webpack might not be slower, but Webpack when used over top of Next.js might be slower. Next.js used on top of, let's say, a huge project might get even slower. Let's add a TypeScript layer on top of this, which will get even slower. Let's add a bunch of things over TypeScript like GraphQL CodeGen and, for example, some more type generator, right? Some more type generators. So you have, for example, TS node or something working in the background, which is doing this stuff. Then it transpiles into JavaScript. Then that is checked for linting errors and so on. So when you do a lot of this stuff now, what happens is that it slows down your program a lot, because JavaScript is not performant for high intensive CPU bound tasks. But still, at the end of the day, what we get out of all of this work is just a mini JavaScript file which we ship to the browsers or sometimes to servers in cases of serverless environments, and that is what clients execute at the end of the day. So we have optimized a lot on this front, which is, you know, how we can provide the best experience to the users by actually compressing and doing everything. And we have done a lot of optimization over here also in terms of the experience which people get. But in terms of building this optimization pipeline, what we have missed out is on the time developers spend now. I mean, technically speaking, if time was not the concern, you can probably code every single thing in JavaScript and just let it execute on its own speed. But that's the problem, because JavaScript is expensive. It's expensive on the most expensive thing in the universe, that is time. It takes some time to execute this whole thing which you have. So that is where technologies like Rust come in. And no matter what anyone says to you, the primary reason, the only reason we don't write stuff in JavaScript and TypeScript and stuff like this is because it's slower, right? And of course you get maybe some memory management things which are positive from Rust, but for the most part JavaScript can also do that. The only thing is Rust is way more faster, maybe 10 to 100 times faster for some operations when you implement certain things in Rust, right? Now, the situation is, in case of web development, we anyway need to get this .js file out, right? So this is what ships to the client. This is something which we cannot change. That's done and dusted, right? Until and unless we also ship some WASM or something, but that's for another day. Where we can optimize still is this whole pipeline of developer experience which the developer is facing. So we are trying to put in paths, or we are trying to replace parts of JavaScript with the Rust optimized code so that it performs much better in terms of speed on this end, on the developer end. Now, for example, you have heard about SWC, which is being worked by Vercel now. You have heard about ESBuild, for example, which is not exactly a Rust tool, it's a Go tool, but it's similar to what SWC is doing, for example. You have heard about Dino as the runtime. Dino also bets aggressively on Rust, so that is also like an important thing. You've heard about Next.js, which also ships with SWC now for certain optimization and uses things like Trsor, which is like Minifier, I think, which still does not work properly, at least until, you know, for our code base, it crashes a lot when building. But you get the idea that these players are now shifting the developer experience on Rust, because this makes tooling much more faster for developers, right? So we have optimized the JavaScript world. We have optimized the easiness of this world, the developer world. Now we have to also optimize the time thing over here, because JavaScript can only get so fast. It can only do so much on a single computer, but that is where native programming languages can unlock speed and execution for us. Now, of course, Rust also brings interesting things around WASM. For example, if you have something of your own which you want to do on the web itself, and it's, you know, that it's computationally expensive, for example, some sort of 3D stuff or some sort of complicated mathematics which involves a lot of CPU to burn through, Rust would probably be a much more better thing to do. Compile it to WASM and then execute it in browser at near native speeds compared to, again, like I said, JavaScript thing. But that's again just like saying how, you know, this whole thing works. So the point here is that you as a developer, you as a web developer today, don't and won't really need to learn Rust for working on this layer, on the very front layer. But the moment you go back into building experiences for developers, today if you're working on Webpack, for example, or today if you're working on SWC or the Trsor plugin or whatever plugins these are, if you know Rust, it'll be a game changer for you, because you can directly jump into these companies, help them build these projects, help them build these libraries, and ship it out to probably tens of millions of developers in the next few years, which will use them as the fundamental underlying technologies to start their projects or start their startups even, right? So why Rust is important as a programming language? Because a lot of web development tech stack, the developer side of things, will be built on Rust, which will help you code JavaScript in a better way, which will help you ship softwares faster, right? So I like to imagine this in the following way. There are certain users which are using something on the technology front. Then there are developers who build for these users, right? And then there are developers who build the stuff for developers themselves. So Rust, I do feel, for majority developers is somewhere here, majority web developers, and it's making its way on this layer over here. And the way it is making its way over here is through WASM. And of course, only HTML, CSS, and JS reside here, WASM also. So, if you already put in some effort to start learning Rust, you can be actually promoted to this sort of domain, which is, if this is 100%, this might be 10%, this might be 1%. So these are even fewer developers who build for other developers, right? So this is like a good place to be because you actually also have a lot of power to dictate the future of development itself. And in general, like I said, this is moving a little bit over here on this layer also. So understanding and learning Rust is never a bad option as a web developer. So if you're already a web developer and a backend developer and you're looking for a new challenge, maybe Rust is a good choice. So yep, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you learned something new and interesting. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That is all for this one. I'm gonna see you in the next video really soon. If you're still watching this video, make sure you comment down in the comment section, I watched this video till the end. Also, if you're not part of Codedamp's Discord community, you're missing out a lot on events which we organize on a weekly basis to code. You already know the drill. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you so much for watching.